Welcome to the life you crave. Simple and sustainable weight loss for women who have better things to do than diet. I'm your host, Lia Pinelli. I help ambitious, badass women stop overeating, overworking, and overgiving to lose weight from a place of love. I'll help you simplify weight loss, end your overwhelm, and create the life you crave. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Let's get started.
Hey, do you have a sugar habit that you would absolutely love to break? If you are like, I don't know, most of the population, then you probably do. And I have something special just for you. It is a free masterclass coming up on April 4th, 2024. It is called Breaking Up But Staying Friends with Sugar. And this is one of my most popular masterclasses, you guys. It is online, it is virtual, and it works. I'm going to teach you exactly how to break up with sugar, meaning really break the habit with sugar without having to give up sugar for the rest of your life. So if that sounds intriguing to you, head over to liapinelli.com/masterclass. That is liapinelli.com/masterclass and sign up, register for free. I'll see you there. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this live recording of the Life You Crave podcast. I'm actually here with my coffee because today I was just in kind of like a chatty mood. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely have planned out what I want to talk about today on the show, but I just wanted to like sit down and have a conversation with y'all. You know, one of the reasons why I often don't record podcasts as regularly as I probably should is because I often feel like I'm just talking to nobody, to myself. But I know you guys are out there and I know you guys are listening. And so that's why today I decided, I'm just going to sit down and talk to you guys. I mean, I know you're here, right? But maybe a little less scripted, maybe a little less formal, and maybe a little more casual. So here we are today. You might hear me pausing to sip my coffee, like right about now. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my cute Igualdad cup that I'm drinking from. So today on the show, before I dive in, I actually want to make sure to remember to remind you that if you are listening to this, April 4th, 2024 is coming up in a few weeks, and I am hosting my famous Breaking Up But Staying Friends with Sugar training. It's a free masterclass. You can sign up for it at liapinelli.com/masterclass. And it's right there for you. I host the Breaking Up But Staying Friends with Sugar challenge 4 times a year. Or it's not really a challenge. It was once a challenge. Now it's really just a training 4 times a year. So if you are struggling with your relationship with sugar, if you really feel like you can just use a break, but you don't want to break up forever, or maybe you just want to set some different terms, right? Reestablish the terms of your relationship with sugar. You should definitely come and hang out with me on April 4th. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific, where I will be giving you a very comprehensive 90-minute training. It's quick and dirty, but it is effective. So come and check it out. It's not about abstaining from sugar. It's not about quitting sugar forever. It's just about how to actually redefine the terms of your relationship. Breaking up, but staying friends. Okay, so today on the show, I want to address this question that I get sometimes, and I just got it on my social media. So this past weekend was my birthday, International Women's Day. I was born on International Women's Day, which is so fitting. Now, here comes my dog Taco, for those of you who couldn't see the video. And it was a wonderful weekend. And for me, what feels the best, what feels the most like me, the most fun times for me have to do with travel and eating in really great restaurants, eating really good food with really great people. That's the life I crave all the time. Love it. Restaurants, friends, community, and family, and travel. So this past weekend, I got to do all of that, minus the travel. We stayed local, but we ate in tons of great restaurants, had so much fun. Playing skee ball at the arcade, which I really suck at, by the way, and my family is really good at, and eating really great food, drinking really great wine and great drinks, and just having a blast. And I've been having a lot of fun on my Instagram stories, getting to share these kind of parts of my life. Actually, my whole life. I've been really sharing more frequently about what I'm actually doing, how I've actually created the life that I crave unapologetically, which is my tagline here at The Life You Crave. Really wanting to show you that I'm walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And I got this great question. See, I'm getting warm already. Once I start talking to you guys, I get hot. I got this great question from somebody in my stories that said, I don't get it. How are you a life coach? Excuse me. She said, how are you a health coach? And yet you're like pigging out on, this huge barbecue platter. On Friday night for my actual birthday, we went to this great barbecue restaurant, which wasn't my first choice, but we won't go into that. It's a great barbecue restaurant. And we had this huge platter. And on that platter, there was potato salad and mac and cheese and sausage and fried chicken. I mean, the whole thing, greens, delicious greens, actually, collard greens and coleslaw. It was huge. And then after that, we even had dessert, which was a huge mistake, to be honest with you, because I totally overdid it that night in terms of the richness of the food. Not necessarily eating too much food, but I'm going to get into that. So somebody's like, how are you a health coach, but you eat like that? And that's the question that I really want to address today is, how am I a health coach and yet I eat like that? And the first thing I always say to people is, I'm not a health coach, which I know is very confusing because people are like, wait a minute, you're not a health coach, but women hire you to teach them how to stop overeating and also to release unwanted weight is the byproduct of that. And you care a lot about health. Like you're obviously always going to Pilates and walking the dog and eating, salad and all those things. So what do you mean you're not a health coach? Well, here's the deal. My company is not called The Health You Crave. It's called The Life You Crave. And for me, health is a huge component of the life that I crave, right? And I actually would venture to say that I think that health is a huge component of the life that everyone craves. I don't think anybody's craving, illness, disease. And so health is a big part of that. And I happen to be somebody who is very invested in taking really good care of myself, right? I take really good care of myself. Now, I don't take really good care of myself because I care so much about health and I'm a health coach because I care so much about your health. That's not at all the case. In fact, I've been known to say, I don't care about your health, which is totally not true. I do care about your health. But really, more importantly, I want to have really good health so that I can live the life that I crave. Because I'm very aware that if I don't have really good health, I got to fix my headphones there a little bit. I'm very aware that if I don't have really good health, I can't actually live the life that I crave. I can't enjoy this one beautiful, luxurious life that I have if I don't have really good health. Now, I wasn't always like this, by the way. When I was in my 20s, for those of you who knew me in my 20s, I was a wild child, and in my teens too. I mean, it was a very rock and roll lifestyle I was living. I was a bartender in San Francisco for 10 years and living a very bartender 20s lifestyle, right? Had more fun than ever, by the way. It was really fun. My 20s were great fun. Wasn't the healthiest time in my life, right? Lots and lots of drinking, lots and lots of recreational drugs. I mean, just having a great time. And honestly, I still look back on those days with such fondness. But do I want to go back to live that life? Absolutely not. My life, the quality of my life is different now than it was then. And now what I recognize is that if I party that hard, I'm not actually feeling healthy. And if I'm not feeling healthy, I'm definitely not living the life I crave. When I overdo it, like with food or with alcohol, which used to be a very consistent pattern in my life up until the age of 39, when I would overdo it, meaning overeat and overdrink, I would feel awful, as you might expect, the next day, and sometimes for days after. And when that would happen, I was sluggish, maybe a little depressed, not wanting to get out of the house, My clothes weren't fitting, so I didn't feel good when I got dressed to go out into the world to live the life that I crave. Like, it didn't work. Not valuing my health didn't work with the life that I crave. So when people say things to me like, I don't get it, how are you a health coach? I'm like, I'm not a health coach. I just recognize that health is a part of the life that I crave. I'm a life coach. And what I specifically do is I teach women specifically how to stop overeating, which, by the way, is the same skill set to stop over drinking. And I'm not talking about alcohol dependency. I'm talking about drinking more than you would like. Alcohol dependency, aka alcoholism, is a totally different topic that I am not addressing here. So please be clear on that. But I teach women how to stop overdoing it in terms of the food they're eating, what they're drinking, and the lives that they're living so that they can live the lives that they crave. And for most of my clients, that is a life that is rich and meaningful, rich in relationships, really, really rich in a sense of purpose and contribution. And that's the same for me, right? And I contribute more when I feel good. I have better relationships when I feel good. And when I say I feel good, I mean physically and mentally healthy. So that is why, y'all, I go to Pilates 4 times a week, right? It's because I'm building muscle, not just so that I look good, but so that I'm actually strong and I have invested in my health in the long run. Because I want to be a 70-year-old woman who doesn't have an accident and fall because my stability and balance is so good because of my consistent Pilates practice for decades. That's the plan, right? So that is the first thing. And so I really encourage you, and this is something I say to my clients all the time. You know, clients hire me to stop overeating. What they really want is to stop overeating so that they can lose weight. Nobody wants to overeat. It doesn't feel good to overeat, even if you're not overweight. And I've had plenty of clients come to me who are not actually overweight. They just really, really want to stop overeating. But for the majority of my clients, they come to me because they want to stop overeating so that they can lose weight. And what often happens is, I have a client like this right now. I'm not going to say her name, obviously, but she's down to her goal weight and she still feels like she looks awful, right? And the point here is that she's imagining an older version of herself. She's in her 50s and she's remembering her 23-year-old self at that weight, right? Her body doesn't look the same. She has babies that are grown now, but she's had kids. She's had decades of a life in between, and her body is a different body, not worse, not better. It's just a different body than the body that weighed the same amount when she was 23. So what sometimes happens with clients is they'll say things like, well, I need to lose more, or more commonly, they'll not be at their goal weight. Maybe they'll be 10 or 15 pounds outside of their goal weight, and they feel like they need to keep going. They need to restrict. They need to get on some kind of diet. They need to start counting something. They need to do something more extreme to get to where they're trying to go. Extreme is a euphemism here for the word restriction, right? So I'm able to get women to lose unwanted weight by stopping overeating, not by restricting and counting, but it is about shifting how they eat so that actually they're reducing their actual hunger levels and their actual desire levels so that their body naturally is eating less. Because when you have less hunger and less desire for food, you eat less naturally, and therefore you live at your natural weight with minimal effort. So as I'm teaching women to do this, when they get to that point, 10 or 15 pounds outside of their ideal weight, my watch is beeping at me. I'm making sure I'm not missing an appointment right now. I'm not. They'll start to get into this mode of like, maybe I actually need to restrict. Maybe my natural hunger and natural desire results in a weight that is still not as low as I would like. So maybe I need to restrict. And I always say, that's fine. We can totally go there. We can build you a protocol that is more restrictive, that will most likely result in more weight loss. But the question I want to ask you first, and my dear listeners, I want you to ask yourself this same question. Is that level of restriction a part of the life that you crave? Because for most of us, The life that we crave is the opposite of restriction. For most of us, in fact, I almost want to say for all of us, the life that we crave is expansive. It's freedom. It's not restriction. We want more freedom, less restriction. We almost never, in any context, when we're thinking about the life we crave, want more restriction, less freedom. I mean, I can't think of anybody who wants that, right? I mean, I guess maybe when you get married, it's a form of more, more restriction, less freedom, but it's really about how you look at it, right? So I want you to ask yourself that same question. When you think about starting another diet, or you think about, oh, maybe I should eat fewer carbs, or maybe I should eat, drink less wine. For me, it's always that, right? Like, maybe I should drink less wine. The question always becomes, is that the life I crave? And now, you guys, here's what I want you to know. It can go both ways, right? So sometimes when I get in my wine habit, I always drink wine, but sometimes I will definitely get into a pattern. I call these patterns. I get into a pattern where I'm drinking a glass of, or less, or two of wine every night. That is not the life that I crave. Why? It's not the life that I crave because I'm very aware that when you habituate an action, like drinking wine every night or eating sugar every day, once it becomes habituated, it's now a habit. I mean, by definition, that's the word, habituate. And when you've started a habit, you just better make damn sure that it's a habit that is going to benefit you in the long run. And drinking wine because if it's not, eventually you're going to want to break the habit. And then you have to put a bunch of energy into breaking a habit. I don't want to put energy into breaking habits. I'd rather not start the habit to begin with than have to put energy into breaking the habit, right? If that makes sense. But the reason why I don't want wine drinking to become a habit every single day is because I don't feel good if I drink wine every single day. I feel a little less energetic, a little less, I don't sleep as well. I'm not so excited to get up in the morning, right? I maybe need a nap or two. That's not the life I crave. So that's why I don't want to drink wine every night. Now, sorry, I have to keep adjusting my headphones, guys. Now, that's not the life that I crave, but also the reverse of that is that I also don't crave a life where I don't drink wine at all, or where I feel very restricted. And so you can do the same exact thing with the way that you're eating, asking yourself, do I want to be someone who, and this is what comes up in our Breaking Up But Staying Friends with Sugar challenge on the next one coming up on April 4th. It's always the first month of the new quarter. So January, April, and then whatever, you can do the math for the next ones. But is the life that I crave a life where I eat no sugar ever? Or is it a life where I'm eating sugar every day? Or is it somewhere in between? And really, really be honest with yourself about that question, because eating sugar every day, just like drinking wine every day, it might sound nice, but really does that support the life that you crave? And when it comes to sugar and even wine, for some of us, it can result in unwanted weight as well, which is another piece of a life that you're not craving, right? Unwanted weight isn't usually a part of the equation. So I really want to offer you that question, which is the way that I'm eating or drinking in alignment? Now, to get back to the question from my Instagram follower who had asked me about the health coach thing, the life that I crave is a life where I can go out and eat cake and barbecue for my birthday and not feel restricted in any way. Now, I said I was going to come back to this, and I am. Full disclosure, I totally overdid it on my birthday with the barbecue and the cake. Now, when I say overdid it, though, I don't necessarily mean overeating. I did overeat, but not in the way that you might think. And I'm going to explain this to you. So my body does not process and digest really rich, deep fried foods. It just doesn't. And when I say digest, I don't mean that this is not a euphemism for gain weight. I actually become extremely uncomfortable later on in the evening. My stomach protrudes, it's full of air. I burp. I don't sleep well. I mean, it's not sexy, you guys, okay? And it's not the way you want to feel on your 46th birthday. I'm drinking tons of water because it's like my body's trying to flush it through. I just don't digest it well. And then the next day, I often feel kind of ill. So the truth of the matter is eating food like this huge platter of really rich Southern barbecue is not in alignment with who I am today and who I want to be in the future in terms of what I'm choosing to fuel my body with, what I'm choosing to enjoy. I enjoyed it in the moment, but I felt so ill after that what ends up happening is I call this a net negative effect. It means I had pleasure in the moment while I was eating it, but the net impact that I had from eating that big meal was 100% negative. So overall, it was a net negative impact. That's not in alignment with who I want to be. So when I say I overate, what I mean is, and I take my clients through this process, we go back and we say, okay, it's part of the 3-question series. And the second question is, if you could go back and do it again, what would you do differently? And I know exactly what I would do differently. I would have ordered 2, maybe even 3 orders of coleslaw because the coleslaw was there. It was kind of small, but it's not deep fried. It's salad. It's cabbage. It's the stuff that my body loves, right? And now too much cabbage could definitely, backfire a little bit, but not in a way that makes me ill. Backfire, pun intended, but not in a way that makes me ill, right? So I would have ordered maybe a couple of coleslaws. And to be honest with you, my husband would have been like, really, are you ordering that many coleslaw? And people might have looked at me a little sideways like, why is the lady ordering so many coleslaws? But the truth is it doesn't freaking matter because I know my body well enough to know that if I made the coleslaw my main meal by ordering 2 or 3 sides of coleslaw to make it like a big coleslaw, and then I enjoyed some of the deeper, the richer foods on the platter, but in smaller quantities, use those veggies to really fill up, I would have felt 1,000 times better. I still would have gotten to enjoy the barbecue, to taste it, but in smaller quantities so that my body could actually digest it and not felt like awfulness later on. So that is an example of overeating where I might not have overeaten in terms of stuffing myself, but I overate foods that are out of alignment with my body and what actually feels good to me in the moment. So when I'm working with clients, we do the same thing, right? We build protocols for ourselves and they're individual and personalized for each client. And I have my own protocol. And I know that rich fried foods are not in alignment with my body. So they're not on my protocol. They would be an exception to the protocol, like on a birthday, and they would be eaten in far smaller quantities than I ate them so that I can preserve the life that I crave. And the life that I crave is a life where I wake up the next morning and I feel great and I'm not gassy and bloated and not feeling good, right? That's the big picture. That's what we're going for. Okay, the second point that I wanted to share with you guys today is about the concept of moderation, which I've already started to touch on. And the idea of moderation loops back to what I was just sharing with you, which is moderation looks different for everyone. So there are plenty of people who could have sat down and eaten all of the same things that I ate on Friday night and not had a net negative impact. That could have been an exception to how they maybe normally eat, because if they ate like that every night, they probably wouldn't have the health that they wanted. But they could sit down and have that whole meal and my sister's kind of like that. She can kind of eat anything and not really have digestive issues. So she could have eaten the whole thing. That would have been in alignment for her. That would have been a net positive for her. But for me, it was a net negative. So recognizing that moderation looks different for different people. And, and I hate when people are like, oh, everything in moderation. It's like, well, actually, moderation is very personalized, right? If moderation means that you can sit down and eat all of the barbecue like I was unable to process, then that's moderation for you, but it's definitely not moderation for me. So really knowing yourself well enough to know what works for my body and doesn't work for my body and in what quantities. Now, this is also the formula that we use for releasing unwanted weight, right? It's never about restriction, complete restriction, unless that feels like freedom to you. So for example, I have plenty of clients who never drink alcohol, not because they have stopped drinking alcohol to lose weight. It's because it doesn't feel like freedom to them. For whatever their history or reason with alcohol, they don't enjoy it in the way that actually enhances their life. So they just don't drink it. So restricting alcohol in that way does feel like freedom for them. It's so nuanced. And working with someone, and look, you guys, I know you guys listen to me on the podcast here, but I don't have any attachment to whether or not you work with me. But if you are struggling with any of this, I so encourage you to work with someone who specializes in this field, because there is a protocol, a way of eating that works for you. And if you haven't found it yet, like seriously, run, don't walk, because freedom is on the other side of finding the protocol that works for you. It doesn't mean it works perfectly. I felt sick on Friday night from overdoing it with a barbecue, right? But at least you know where you went wrong, right? I knew where I went wrong. And what that also meant was that on Saturday, because the whole weekend was my birthday weekend, so we were, celebrating the whole weekend. But I also knew that on Saturday night, for example, we switched our dinner from a sweet pizza spot. We switched to go to Thai, because I was like, oh, I would just love the fresh veggies and nothing deep fried and nothing like super cheesy and rich. I wanted some light, refreshing Thai food. And we got all the noodles and all the good stuff in there, but it was about not ordering something that was going to be really, really rich again. But the old me, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had that awareness of my own personal protocol. And the last thing that I want to leave with you here today is that your protocol changes. So, as your life changes, as your body changes, as you age, as you have babies, as you go through menopause, whatever these big life events are that you are experiencing, as you change, your protocol often needs to change with you. And there are some really, really sweet kind of cheat sheets that you can use to figure out. And by the way, the cheat sheet has to do with my clients, I actually use the scientific method, right? We formulate a hypothesis, we test the hypothesis, we collect the data, and then we come back and we reflect on it, and then we go and we do it again. And that is the way that you build a personalized protocol that actually works for you. And it works for you every time until it stops working, because something for you has changed in terms of aging or hormonally or something. And then guess what? We do it again, right? We just jump in and do it again. And it's about curiosity and it's about exploration. It is not about restriction or judgment or shame. And that is the life that I crave. And it's the life that my clients crave. And I have a hunch it's the life that you crave too, if you're listening to this. So thank you all for listening. Please go to liapinelli.com/masterclass and sign up today for the April 4th masterclass, 11 a.m. Pacific, breaking up but staying friends with sugar. You guys, I've had people actually do this masterclass and lose a couple of pounds like within a couple of weeks because of breaking up with that sugar. So if weight loss is a thing for you, that's the place to be. Even if it's not about weight loss though for you, and it's really just about wanting to break the sugar habit, it's the place to be. And it's free. So come on, I'll see you there. Ciao, ciao, everybody.
You've been listening to The Life You Crave. I lost 30 pounds years ago without dieting, willpower, or deprivation. I'm on a mission to help other women, including you, do the same. You can book a free weight loss strategy session with me over at liapinelli.com. That's liapinelli.com. See you on our next call or on the next episode. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on iTunes.